All right. So, remember what we did the other time was just general introduction to Excel, where I give us the definition of Excel. I pointed out some. Was it introduction to Excel actually, or introduction to data analysis? Was that class our first class or second class? Was that class? That class was the second class, our first class. Just want to know. The last class we had, was it the first class, second class, right? Analysis. So the second class was introduction to what? The cell. So let me know where you stop from your notes. What was the last topic? What was the last topic?
The last one was more practical. Showed us how to do it.
There are topics that must have generated, or a topic that must have windows, right? Or interface familiarization, right? So that is where we started looking at different sections that forms the application environment, right? Out of which we have identified this to be the application title bar, where I was showing us the functions of these buttons, right? And then I also explained the standard toolbar, where you can access some customized commands. And then we also talk about the tabs bar, right? And then the tabs properties bar. In the worksheet, check your notes. I just want to know the particular one that, okay. So we've taken worksheet. Is there any note on worksheet? So that is where we are now, worksheet. Worksheet. So this is just like the continuation of that topic, that last topic, which was a cell interface environment. I don't know if you are with me. I reduced. So like I was saying, this is like the continuation of that very class. So we are still identifying or studying the interface. We started from here, then we are here, which I just call the worksheet, right? So let's quickly define the worksheet. The worksheet in Excel is also known as the spreadsheet. The worksheet in Excel is also known as the spreadsheet. Are you with me? Which is used for data collection and manipulation. Which is used for data collection and manipulation. That is the role of the worksheet. Just like what you call page in Microsoft Word. You know, the page allows us to process Word. But in Excel, we don't call it page. We call it what? Worksheets. Or we call it the spreadsheets. Exactly. Now, the whole of this section is the worksheet from here down to this is the worksheet, where you have all these vertical and what horizontal line, A, B, C, D, and these numbers. The whole of that is what we are describing as what? The worksheet, which I said it is the electronic book. That is another way you can define it. It's not like your regular book that require pen and paper. It is what? The electronic book that allows data entry and calculation. It allows data entry and calculation. Are you with me? So there are two specific functions of the worksheet that I've pointed at now. Data entry and what? Calculation. So what do we mean by data entry? Data entry means typing or imputing value inside the what? The cells. That is the meaning of what? Data entry. Imputing values into the what? The cells. It's called data entry. Exactly. So let's quickly identify the features of the worksheet. The component, just like a subheading under that worksheet. The components of the worksheet. So you know what and what the worksheet is made up of each time you are using it. So right, the worksheet, Excel worksheet is made up of the following components. Excel worksheet is made up of the following components. Excel worksheet is made up of the following components. Are you with me? Number one, the columns. So let's quickly identify what are the components we are describing as what? The column. You see all these alphabetical label vertically. This column what? Column A. This is what? Column B. This is column C, and so on. Are you with me? So the columns are the vertical spaces designed for entering data headings. Designed for entering data headings. The columns are the vertical spaces designed for what? Entering data headings. So each of those labels in the data set that describe data properties, they are called headings or features. For example, now, if I label here now serial number, that is what? That is heading. If I label here, let's say what? Customers what? Name. That is another heading. Sorry. That is another what? Heading. So the role of the column is to what? Define your data frame headings. Because according to the principles of data entry, you have to first of all what? Highlight the headings before you start collecting record under each of the what? The headings. Because once you are able to define the heading, that will suggest the kind of values to what? To be collected under it. But because this is saying customer name, that informing that, oh, this is where I'm to enter what? The name of my customer. Because this is defining serial number, this informing that, oh, this is where I'm to write what? The transaction what? Numbers. Are you getting it? So what we are saying is that this alphabetical label, which are called the columns, their major function is just to help us what? To outline the headings. Exactly. So we can also refer to them as the attributes. We can also refer to them as data frame or data set attributes. We can refer to them as data frame or data set what? Attributes. Are you following? Data what? Frame or data set what? Attributes. So the word attribute, do you know how to, do you know what is attributes? Can you define what is called attributes?
Okay, in the layman way, attribute simply means like the features of an individual or
Features of an individual.
exist, like what the person found.
Okay, so we can refer to that as the attribute, right? So, but you said in a layman way, let me see, off that light. Okay. So you said in a layman way, an attribute is what? It's what the object comprises of, right? What make up the what? The objects or whatever you are describing, right? Now, but in this case, an attribute means what provide additional information about your data objects. So those headings, they are called what? Data objects. That is why in data science, we don't call them column in data science. Why I'm using these terms, because this is data what? Analysis. If it is data science, I'll be using the word features. They are data what? Features. So what we are saying is that these columns that you are seeing, they describe what? Some type of values. Exactly. So that's the role of what? The column in the spreadsheets. Now, there are two things I have already outlined here. The mode of identifying the columns. I said they are what? The vertical what? Spaces. Exactly. Then I've also established their core function. Their core function for describing what? Data what? Attribute, or for writing your data header, right? Now, if we are asked what represents them, how can somebody actually what? Identify them? Let's say you are talking to someone who have not been exposed to the environment, and you are describing that, so that when the person gets to the environment, how will he or she be able to identify what you are calling column? They are the what? The alphabetical what? Label, right? So now, can we say this A is a column? Can we say the B is a column? Good. Now, let's look at how many of them do we have in a single spreadsheet. Now, there is a reason why I want to explain that. The reason why I want to explain that is for us to know the total numbers of columns or headings that can be created in a single word Excel spreadsheet. All right, are you with me? Now, because in an interview, they may want to know your knowledge in the cell. They can ask you, if you are saying that column A represents one heading, column B represents another word heading, and they ask you how many headings can be created in a single sheet of Excel. So we can actually create 16,384 headings. So which means that in a single spreadsheet, you have how many columns? 16,384. I don't know if you have come across any data sets that have up to that number of headings. So which means that what? There is no way anybody can consume what? The whole what? Column in a spreadsheet. Exactly. Good. Now, let's quickly, we are still explaining the worksheet of a cell, right? The component, what makes it up. So we have just identified the first one, which is what? The column. Now, let's look at the next one, which is called the row. The next one is called the row, ROW. We are still explaining the component of the worksheet. Don't forget, I said the worksheet of a cell allow us to collect what? Data, and also to perform what? Different kinds of what? Calculations, right? Good. Now, the next section or the next component of the worksheet is called the row. Now, how do we define the row? Right, the rows are the horizontal spaces. The rows are the horizontal spaces labeled with number. So in case you want to know how to identify them, they are the section labeled with what? Numbers. So how do we differentiate the row from the column? From this definition I just gave to you now. The columns are labeled with what? Alphabet, while the rows are labeled with what? Numbers. Chicken. I don't know if it's clear. Good. Now, another way we can differentiate the row, I said the columns define the vertical spaces, while the row defines the horizontal spaces, right? Good. Now, in terms of function, the role they play in collecting data, the column play the role of creating the headings, while the row play the role of creating the records. So the rows are for generating or creating records. Are you with me? So just like I just informed us that in a single spreadsheet, we have 16,384 columns, right? Which suggests that in a single sheet, we can have up to that number of what? Headers, right? Now, if you are also asked, that how many rows do we have in a spreadsheet? In other words, how many records? If supposing this is a supermarket that deals with up to like 10,000 customers entry, and you are asked that can this single spreadsheet manage 1,000 record, what will be your answer will be determined by your knowledge on how many of them you know that exists, right? So let's write that down. In a single sheet of Excel, we have 1,048,576 rows. 1,048,576 rows. So which also translates that in a single sheet, how many records can be tracked in a single sheet of Excel? How many records can be tracked? 1,048,576 in a single sheet of Excel. Are you with me? Now, that is for row and what? Column. Now, sir, I want to verify some of these things you are saying. If I want to know the beginning of the column, we are already seeing it as what? Column A, right? If I now want to check the last label, I'll quickly press Control and what? The right arrow button. Look at it here. Control and the right arrow button. You can see that will take you to the last one. You can press it on your phone so that you can see it. Control, hold down the control button and press the right arrow button. Press, you can see it. So the last label is what? SF what? D. So anything outside, if you try moving now, if you try moving the sheet, it will be giving you what? Blank space, which means that what? You have come to the end of that column. But because they are alphabets, except to take your time to count. So if you want to go back, you press that same button, Control, and press what? The left. Good. So let's confirm that 1 million plus that I talk about. The row. You hold down the Control and press the down arrow button. You will see the number. Does you understand it now? So that is how you can check the total numbers of rows in a spreadsheet. So quickly, so that we can go from there to another topic. So let's quickly talk about the next component of the worksheet, which is called the active cell. We have identified the column as part of the worksheet. We have also identified the what? The row as part of what? The worksheet. Now we want to identify the next component, which is the active cell. Now, what do we mean by cell first before we talk about what? The active cell are the container that holds value within the worksheet. Cells are the container that holds value within the worksheets in a cell. So this container can also be referred to as variables. Are you with me? We can refer to them as variable because in programming generally, the term variable means what? A container that stores what? Values. So, but in a cell spreadsheet, the cell acts as the variable. Are you with me? So this particular box now is referred to as what? In programming term, we say what is a variable. Why? Because if I input any value like 90 now, is a storage. So this cell is holding 90 for me. But since a cell is an application, instead of all using the word variable, we will now use the word what? Cell. Are you with me? Now, when we say active cell, now look up. There is one that is thicker than others. Can you see this one? It's thicker than other. This one is a cell, but this one is not selected, right? So this one is active. The active cell tells you where your next entry will appear. In MS Word, we refer to it as cursor, that blinking icon. You know, anywhere is blinking. You know that once you type, that is where the next character word will appear. So in a cell, it is called what? Active cell. So anywhere it is active on, when you type, that is where your entry will what? Will appear. Is that clear? Did you understand it now? Good. Now, let's look at the next component, the grid lines. The grid lines. So the grid lines are the vertical and the horizontal line that forms the column space, the row space, and even the cell space. So I said the grid lines are the what? The vertical and the what? The horizontal what? Lines that forms the column space, the row space, and what? The cell. Now let's prove that. Let's prove that quickly. Now you will agree with me. You will agree with me that if we don't have this vertical line, there is no way we will have defined this space. We are calling what? Column B, right? Are you with me? Now, if there is no horizontal line like this as well, if we don't have this horizontal line also, there's no way you will have defined this space we are calling what? Row 1, row 2. Now, if the two lines are not bisecting, they are not crossing one another, there is no way you will have gotten this space you refer as what? Cell. That's why I said the grid line defines what? These three what? Spaces within the worksheet. You can actually turn them off if you don't want them. If I want Microsoft Word environment, all I need to do is to go to View tab. From here, I'll turn off what? The grid. You can see it now. I can also turn off what? Those ABCD. From where? From View. So it's a choice. If I don't want to see them, I simply go to View, and then I turn them on and turn them off. So you should know that heading is responsible for activating the column label and the row label, right? That is for the heading. Then the grid lines are, or the grid line is responsible for activating the vertical line and what? The horizontal line. So you can just play around what I just did now. Good. Because sometimes in an interview, they use this minor thing to screen people. If they are looking for maybe position of 2 persons in a company, and they know that once they place the advert, 1,000 people will show up. They will not even get to the main aspect. They will just use all these minor things to screen like 900. So I hope you are following what I'm explaining. So that brings us to the end of the worksheet. You know, this is part of the last class topic. So let's quickly talk about the Mr. Brian. Hope you are with me. Okay. Now, the next part, which is going to be the last part before we go into computation of value, before we start making some entries, is the status bar, the whole of this part. The status bar. The status what? Bar. So the status bar, as the name implies, it gives you information about your record and the worksheets. It gives you information about your record and the worksheets. Am I communicating? So for example, now look at one of the information I'm getting here. Here, I'm able to know that I have a sheet called what? 1. I can name these sheets. You can click on this plus to add more sheets. Look at this. Click on the plus, that will give you what? Now, after adding this sheet, you have a motive. Your motive or your objective for adding this sheet is that this will be for computing my January 6th. This will be for computing what? My February sales. This will be what? So I'm going to have 12 of them at the end of the year. So whenever my boss is asking me to view my January report, I know the dedicated what sheet for it. But you know that as they are labeled with sheets 1, sheet 2, that does not actually in any way depict the what type of value inside those sheets until you open them. How will I know what I have here without going in? Because I'm using an offline name, a name that does not describe the content. So you are expected to use a name that describes what? The content. So that will not take us. So how do we rename this sheet? Just double click on it. Once it's highlighted, type the name. Let's say this is what? January. So I have edited it. I go to the next one, double click on it, type the name February. Are you following? Go to the next one, double click on it, and type the name what? March. So if I want to add more, I can continue with that same what? Process. So that is just to tell you that what the sheet's name can be what? Renamed. And remember the standard I gave you, always make sure that what? The name you are giving a sheet should have a way of describing the content of that sheet, the record you are capturing in that sheet. So I want us to learn something technical also. Let's assume that after you have created your sheet, then you are now asked to change the order, March to come first. In other words, where you are currently having January, it should be replaced with what? March, which means what? How to relocate the position of a sheet. Now, see what I'm going to do. I will just click the left button and drag. Can you see that arrow? Can you see that? Can you see that arrow? Just watch me first. Can you see the arrow? Then if I move now, if I drop now, look at it now. So if I want to bring it after January, you click again, you see the arrow, that pointer will tell you if you release your hand where it's going to be. So you can try it now. Good. Now, as you are moving it now, all the content you must have created in that sheet, they are equally moving. So don't think that it's just the name. You are not switching any sheet record. As you are taking it now, everything you have created inside is also what? Moving with it. Exactly. Good. So, any questions? So we are through with what? The Excel interface explanation. So I now assume that at this moment, you are familiar with what? The interface. Move it now. Who says not moving? Move, move. Move beyond that place. Move to the third one. Move is going. If you can move order, it can move. Have you moved it now? Where do you want it to be? Where do you want it to be? Go ahead. I'm also listening to you. It will not end at the beginning, it will end at the end because you are still within that particular one. Has it not worked? Wait, look up, look my own here, look my own here. Now, which will explain it to my own here because I'm not seeing your own very well.
This January, I want to move to the second one.
Yes, look at it here. When you move it here now, when you bring it here now, has it not replaced the positioning of?
Okay, that's because you are taking it to the third one. Rather than the comfort now.
Well, I thought it was moving there. You were seeing it. Was it not moving? Okay, so now that is how, in case you want to reorder your sheet, that is the reason why I have to show you that techniques. If you stop here now, it won't go anywhere because you are still within that particular one territory until you step away from, you cross another one before it can change the positioning. All right, so the next thing we want to look at now is data entry. I was asking if you have any question as regard to that topic because we have come to the end of that Excel interface explanation. We want to go to data entry now. We started from here. Any question, any part you don't understand before I step out from this topic? Okay, so let's look at Excel data entry in Excel. Data entry in Excel. So what is data entries? Data entries simply mean collection of data into the worksheet. Because when you open the worksheet, it will always be blank. Then it's now left for you as a user to impute your value. Now, doing that, there are certain skills that are also required. So we have data collection or data entry skills that, like I told us in the class, that is the job of some persons. It is not everybody that is learning data analysis that will end up analyzing data. There are some companies you find yourself. If you are a junior data analyst, they are going to mandate you to be collecting data until you grow to a point whereby maybe you cannot do the work of the senior what analyst before someone else will be collecting data for you. So for you to collect data, what are the things you need to look at for? One, let's look at factors required for collecting data, because I cannot actually use the whole data in the world to teach you. So, but I'll give you a guideline, one thing that should always guide you. Once you have an idea of the data sets you want to collect, you are to reflect to this factor so that you'll be guided on how to develop it. So number one, have an idea of the solution that data is going to provide. Because every data set you see is an answer to a problem. Is an answer to a problem. So there was a problem in that organization. Maybe maybe some record we are missing, some item we are missing. So somebody now came up with the idea of, okay, you know what we need to do? Let's have accurate system that help us to track every transaction. So there must have been a particular problem before anybody will be asked to compute data. So every data should have a problem is solving. So once you identify it, if it is a medical data, ask yourself, ask the person asking you to collect it, what with this data, what are the problems this data is going to address? Now, once you have that idea, you will now know the headings. Like when I say heading, where we're writing that as serial number, product name, I was just typing it. But ordinarily, I'm supposed to type those things based on looking at a particular problem, because each column is answering a particular question. Like the column that I named serial number then was answering what? How many transactions was entered per day. The one that I labeled customer name, that one was also answering another question. Question of what? The name of the customer that visited you. So every column, every heading is providing what? Solution to a problem. So once you have an idea of that, you know what to do. The number two factor you need to consider, number two, is structure the headings based on the problem to address. Structure the headings based on the problem to address. So what do we mean by problem to address? So it's just like what I've explained before. So you arrange them in a way that it will be easier for interpretation. You know, there's a way you can, instead of you starting with serial number, you now put serial number in between somewhere. It doesn't make sense. So you must determine a kind of standard order that one will help somebody to interpret the order and so on. That is the meaning of what? That statement. Now that we have an idea of that now, let's pick one particular data set as an example. Let's say we are building this system for the supermarket owner. Somebody who has a supermarket that have stocked the shop with different items that he or her can no longer comprehend within his or her memory. So therefore, the person needs a system that will be helping him, or that could help him to be tracking everyday transaction. So that is what I'm going to focus on. So our topic will not change to sales inventory design. That is a new topic now. Sales inventory design. So we are through with the factor. Any question on that? Okay, let's go to the factors to be cost. Sorry, sales inventory now. So with this now, as soon as I'm asked to create sales inventory, I will ask myself or ask whoever is asking me to do this, what are the problems this sales inventory is going to address? Like I told you as one of the factors. Because once I identify that, then I will now be able to know the headings that will be required. The headings that are required when you are creating sales inventory, they are not the same when you are creating maybe contacts. Because contact, it will definitely work with the name of the people, name of the customer, their phone number, their email, for those that have websites. That is contact data system. But for sales inventory, it's going to capture the product information and the customer what information together. So we refer to that as sales inventory. Now, for us to develop it, we are going to start by creating the company name. So we'll start by creating the company name. Now, the reason why we are creating the company name is for if that's eventually the record is printed out and is given to someone else, how would the person know which company the data was generated from? That is the reason why when you want to start creating your inventory, you start with the company name. So the company name now, I can use normal text like this, but I don't want to use that because I want my inventory to look a little bit user-friendly and design. So that is to expose her to some function. So I'm not just doing that. I will have just used the normal text, but because you have already seen me using the normal text, so you know how to use it. So I want to show you another way you can write, and that one is called graphic text. So you go to Insert, you go to Insert tab. From Insert, you will see text here. From text, can you see it? From text, you will see word arts. Can you see it from there? Word arts. That is word, then you add arts to it. So once I click on this, it will bring out different styles. So I'll pick any one I want to use for my writing. This one, you can carry it easily. That is the advantage. But the one you have here, if I type P here now, I cannot carry the P easily. Though I can carry it like this. From one set to what? Another. But when it comes to manipulating it, the one of graphic text is better. When you want to design, like all these things now, you want to write all these tests now. That is the graphic text. So you go to Insert, and then you select it. Now you highlight. Once you highlight, you type your text. So our text in this case is the company name, which is, let's say what? NIIT Asaba. That is our text name. So now to modify this text, you bold it. These are common features, you know. You can come here and choose what? Column. Because you want an attractive report. You can come here to change what? The size. You want to move it, you move it from the border section, not from inside. It's not move. You select it first. Make sure that blinking cursor is not active by clicking on the border line. Then you now hold your left button on it and then start what? Moving. So before this, you must have gone to page layout and choose paper size for your entry. Maybe A4, and then maybe the margin. I would advise you to always work with normal margin, which is, and then your orientation, which is whether the margin I recommend normal, which is already programmed by default. But if you want to select this other one, fine. In case you want to set your own, you go to what? Custom what? Margin. Then you now start manipulating what? The value. But just stay on what? Normal. That is one of the office recommended what? Margin. Now, I'll talk about orientation. Orientation means how your record will be placed, whether vertically or what, horizontally. Now, where the headers are going to be merged, it's better you use what? Landscape, so that I can have more header capture per paper. So I'm using the landscape. So the next information we need is the company address, because this company can have different branches. So if all of them print their report at the end of the day, how will the boss separate one from another? So there should be what? Address. Let's say what? 28 DLEA Road, Asaba, Delta State. So now the same thing. Remember that this one that you did is a normal test. Hope you know that this one is not graphic test. This is only one I use graphic. So if I want to move this one now, let's say I want to move it to the row above it. I will just click and push it up. And then before I leave there, because if I leave here now and I try to edit again, the frame of this test will not allow me to be selecting this particular row. So I'll just quickly do my formatting, bold it, do everything so that I can leave that place at once, do my font sizing, and then leave it. Because if I click here now, look at this, except I take this frame away. So as we are doing this, we are saving. Remember, I've taught us saving the other time. You go to what? File, select what? Save as, and then click on what? Desktop. Give it a name. Let's say sales inventory or sales book. If I just name it what? Sales book. So if we are asked now, what are we learning right now? Is data what? Entry and what? Formatting. Two things we are doing at the same time. You can see this is not how this information came, right? We are the one that what? Transform it to change from the black color to what? Red. From black color to blue, which means that what? You are already transformed it. You are supposed to pay attention. If I shout now, you say, I'm doing something. You're supposed to then I'll pause. I'll tell you to do what I've done. You are doing it at the same time. You say, come back. If I'm fast, you not make it look as if I'm fast. You learn first. Then, so you watch the person are doing it. Then I will tell you, okay, do your own. I'm coming to that because we have not done much. That's why I've not stopped. Everything I'm doing is just explaining column, this and that. So now the next thing is you have to define the accounting frame of this particular entry. In every accounting data you are collecting, you must tell us the validity. For example, now I can say what? Sales inventory. So that is what I said we are developing, right? Sales inventory. For which month? Is it a monthly? This is a monthly report. So as I say inventory, I can just put which month will I put now? This is February, right? So February 2025. So there should be this kind of description. So whoever I am reporting to, we know that what this particular record is only valid for this particular month. Now you have to do your color combination. You cannot be using colors anyhow. So I will stay on this and this. So I either go back to the red if I want to mix them up, or I stay on the blue. Then I can bold it, then increase the size a little. Then this particular test is very important. I'll give it what? Double underline. I want to give it some focus. Then as you are working, you are control what? Yes. Now, once I'm done with this session, I will allow you to what? To develop your own to this. So once we have done this, all this information, they are called what? The data description. All this information. Now, we want to go to the main aspect of the data now. We start with the headers definition. So I will trace it to the next row, come down here. Now, remember that you can no longer work with this number 1, number 2. So you have to start another fresh what? Number. So I will name that that column, serial number. Then the next one, you need to also find out what challenge are they going to solve. This one is the one that will answer the question of how many transactions. Now, this one is, let me just focus on the product before we go for the customer before the products. Because as it says, inventory comprises customer info and what? The product information. So you must not mix them up. If you want to focus on the product, collect the product first. Focus on the customer, then collect the customer. Let me take customer first. So from here, I will say customer name follow. So this is where I will be tracking the name of the customer. I will be obtaining that from the invoice or from the receipt. It's not as if you line them up and be asking them to give you the name. Let them transact, give them receipt, invoice, let them go. Later, you collect the booklet and start imputing all this information. Most of the things we are going to compute now, you can obtain them from the invoice or what? The receipt. So now, I would like to track the agenda for statistical analysis. So at the end of the day, we'll know whether we have more female patronizing this product or what, more male. Then I will also want to track the date of the transaction, which is very key. Without that, the whole of this data is not, does not have any meaning. Now, the next one is, if I like, I will say, okay, I want to just capture their country. Capture their country. Then from there, so let's say these are the information I want to collect about the customer. Or let's say even outside their names, I want unique ID. Now, I made a mistake now. It's a good one so that you know how to correct it. Now, I'm supposed to put where I have sets right now, I want to put what? Customer ID. Outside their name, I want to use code for certain reason to identify each of my customers. So which means that this is where it should be, right? And I've already passed that place. So you click on that very one that is currently occupying the position of the one you want to bring in. After that, you now go to insert. Can you see this insert? Make sure that you are in what? In home first. Then come to what? Insert, and then automatically to add another code. If I click on that insert again, it will keep adding. Then if I want to delete now, you click on what? This delete. So what do I want to bring in here? I want to bring in the customer ID, right? Let's label it what? C ID. That's what? Customer ID. So now, this is all about the customer. Then I want to enter product now. Product, I'll start with what? Product name. Then quantity. Rates, how much per one is going to cost the customer. Then total cost. Now, when you are writing your headers, because this data will be called letter on in Python, maybe another platform, so that you won't have issue of space between your description words. So what you do is that you put underscore. Then you have two words describing your header. So let's say total words, total cost. That's what I want to put here. Now, there is a challenge. It's a good one so that you learn how to solve it. You can see that this header is longer than the what? The reserved word space. What do? You trace this line up, you double what? Click. It will automatically what? Fit it. Or you trace it up, click, and manually what? Drag it. So anyone that is better for you. Now, the next one is total cost. Let's say we are giving some discounts. Let's say we are giving some discount of 20%. So that will now be discount. Discount, and I want to specify that discount rate. So I'll put it in a bracket. I'll say 20%. 20%. Hope you are taking note of how I'm getting this symbol. Percent is shift and 5. You want to get the percentage icon. You hold down the shift and press 5. Then I want to also fit it. I will double click. Then I'm saving. Now, after the discount, then it means that you are going to deduct whatever discount we have given from the initial what cost, and then arrive at what actual what price. Because this is not going to be your actual price. Out of this, we are going to be giving out what? 20% discount. So my actual price or my actual cost, I can just make it that way. My actual cost will now be the deduction of the value here from what? This. That will give me what? The actual cost. Now, then what we call VAT, value what? Added tax, if the company is implementing it. Most of them are optional, depend on who you are creating this data system for. So I will need to also define the percentage of my VAT. Let me work with Nigeria standard. I don't know whether it's still at 7.5. Then, and then click. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is the deposits. Is if it is a core type of business you are running, it means that people can pay what? Installments. If it is cash and carry, it means that what? They have to pay at once. So if it's cash and carry, then I will put what? Amount. If I will put amount. But since it's a core type, I will come up with what? Deposits. Then I need to also specify the rates they are to pay. Let's say deposit, they are to pay 60% of the cost. They are to pay 60% of the cost. Then, of course, to now remain the balance. Balance will be the last. So finally, before I allow you to build your own to this place, is that all these headings, we need to format them to look unique. We need to format them to look different from the record that will be coming under them, so that as you look at it, that you need to separate the headings from the record. So how did I select everything? If I want to do it manually, I'll be dragging like this, which is not professional, because we are an advanced user of Excel. We don't have to be using this method to be highlighted. Excel knows that once you click on the first cell and you hold down the control and the shift and press that right arrow, it will start from where you selected and stop exactly where your record stopped. You see what I did? Click on where I want to start from. If I want to start from here, then if I hold down the control and shift, I'll press this arrow. But if I am starting from here, hold down the control and shift and then press this. Then I bold. So the next thing I want to do is to expand the row. The row. I want to make the height of that particular row, holding my header to be, to be higher than others. So how do you do that? You go to home. You click on what? Format. Then you see what? Row height. So that is how to expand row height. Highlight or click on the row, go to Home tab, then you see what? Format. Then you click on what? Row height. Are you seeing it? Now, once I click, this is the default height. So if you are asked in an interview that the default height of a cell row is what? Is what? 15 inches. So if I want to increase, it means that I'll put a value higher than that 50. Right? Let's say 30. Then I press what? Enter. So you can see that what? But now there's another challenge. The records are no longer sitting at the center. So how do I correct that? I will use alignment section. Can you see the whole of this place talks about what? Alignment. Under how to align cell contents. That is a subtopic. Please want to write the steps I want to take. How to align what? Cell content. So you highlight the row. You want to align it what? Says value. Then go to Home tab. Then under the alignment section, we have these three, 1, 2, 3, for vertical alignment. Are you seeing them? Vertical alignment. Can you see them? Now, these ones are for, those ones are for, yes, they're for, can I say they are for horizontal alignment? Then here we have vertical, horizontal. Can you see the numbers along the, depending on how you want it to be. Now, the whole of that row, I want to give it background color just to give it a capture from the record. Then I'll change the color. Let's see to what to something like this. Then I can what? So now you get to display before I continue. 50. I'll stop this session so I can go and settle them for the Python class. So we have created all our data frame headers. Now we want to collect the records under each of these. Some of the records are going to be direct entry, while some are going to be queried. And the one that will be queried will lead to what we call a set query formula constructor. So like here, you don't need formula to calculate serial number. Like I told you, all this information, you can actually get some of them from the receipt or the invoice. As you open up the receipts pages, you can collect all these details. The one that require calculation, you will now write a function that will do the calculation for you. So now we can no longer depend on this numbering because our record is not starting from this number 1. So that takes us to how to rename the rows. Of course, even when you are printing, don't think that A, B, C, D, and the 1, 2, 3 will appear. They are not even meant to display. They are just there to guide you so that you can have your record, arranged in 2 dimensions, which is horizontal and what? Vertical. If I want to activate them, then I will be the one to go to page setup, and then I will go to sheets, and then I will say what? Grids. So by default, they are never programmed to display, except you authorize it. But I don't want this one because I don't want this line to start to cover this header. I would love it to be on only the what? The body. So I'll show us another way you can achieve it so that it doesn't affect the header. So now, once you type the first one, which is 1 like this, you hover the pointer, that big plus on that dotted edge, you will notice that you change towards small plus, right? Once you change to small plus, then you click and drag. It will repeat it. What we want is serial what? Numbering. So I'll click on this icon. While the whole of this is still selected, select what? Field series. The cell will automatically what? Update it for you. But I noticed something. My values are not having the same alignment with the what? The feature. And that is going to affect others. So in order to solve it at once, let me select the area, let's say I intend to use. And then from this what? Alignment, just click here. Now I have collected this. The question now is that what type of entry is it? In Excel, I just told you now, there are 2 types of entry. We have direct entry and query what? Entry. Direct entry are the entry that does not require what? Calculation. While query entry are the one that require what? Calculation. Now, name does not require calculation. So I'll simply type the name, let's say Prosper. So just for us to know some logic that you can use, if the case warrants that, let's say this. So let's assume that in your supermarket, if you don't have Prosper, you have a Loho or you have Rita patronizing you. These are the set of what? Customer that patronize you. I'm just using this to teach you because if you are opening the receipt, everything will be in what? In order. Now, but in this case, I don't have time. So I want to tell Excel, I want to challenge Excel AI. That Excel AI, you should read my mind. I want you to take the way I've arranged these 3 names and use the word to fill what? This other one. So which means that here, what will be here? Prosper. What will be here? Eloho. What will be here? Rita. What will be here? Prosper. Now, you see the way I'm highlighting now, not just one. Both 3 of them, highlight them like this. Then double tap. When you double tap here, it's called autofill. It will stop anywhere your number is stopped. If you have number up to 1 million, as I double tap now, it will what? Continue till it gets to that particular what? Last number. So now let's continue. I'm still going to use that logic. Customer ID. I want to use a unique way of identifying the customers outside their names. Outside their name. So maybe the company will give you this code. You are not the one to develop it. So let's assume that the code is CO, let's say C001. So the next person will be what? C00 what? 2. Then the next person will be what? C what? 003. Now, now I want the same format to be followed. So I will just what? Double click. Once you are given a cell, the example to follow it. Then the case of gender, it's not, this is what? Male. This is also what? Male. This is what? Female. Why I'm doing this? Because when it's time for printing, you see this line. This line means that what? This will enter the next page. These two header. So in order to create space, I'm abbreviating what? My female, so that I will start what? Saving some spaces. Now, even here, I can see what? Reduce what? Space. I have excess space there. So just to bear that in mind. So I will tell Excel to follow the same format and fill it up. Date. Date is a reserved word. If you autofill it, it will increase. So let's say this date, 2025. If you autofill it, it will what? Increase because it's a reserved word. Now, to avoid this, all these transactions are meant to be in 1 year, for example. So you don't autofill it. You copy and what? Paste. So you copy this one. How do you copy? Select it, go to home, select copy, highlight the empty cell you want to fill with that same date. Then go back and select what? Paste. Because if you autofill it, it will what? It will increase. Now, country, let's say what? Data. Here, Edo. Sorry, I say country. This should be states. Country, let's say Nigeria. UK. So use the same logic to fill them up. Now, product name, let's say what? What do I use here? Let's say printer, flash, let's say laptop, and then highlight them, and then the same thing. The quantity, now here is going to be different from the way we are doing it. Let's assume that you are instructed that the difference between each of the quantity is a standard. The company probably have that policy. That the difference between each quantity should be 5. So if the first one is 5, here will be what? 10, right? Once you have given Excel this example, just highlight both of them. Excel will replicate it for you in the case of number. Now, rates, let's also say difference of 1,000. So here will be what? 1,500, right? 1,500. Then I'll do the same thing. Highlight both of them. If I don't want to use this method, highlight all of them like this. Then go to Home tab, select what? Fill, select what? Down. But what happened? It did not automate like we want it, right? So let's use this one. So this one is more sensitive. Now, here is not direct entry. You need to perform calculation here. Because here in business transaction, what we are saying is that the total cost, the customer wants to know, since he's buying printer, 5 of them, and you have told him that one will cost him what? 500. He wants to know how much he's going to pay for the what? The 5 of them. Which means that direct formula, which is DF, is quantity times rate. But query formula, which is QF, is the argument of where the 5 is, times shift and 8, if you're using laptop, and the argument of where the rate is. Then once I hit my enter, it's calculated. And then if I double tap to calculate others for me automatically. Did you understand the logic? It's just for you to understand the word, the direct formula. I'm still going to do that. By discount, I have already specified that I want to give them out of this. This is not, I'm running a promo, which means that the customers are not going to pay this value. There will be a reduction based on the what? The discount you have planned to give, which you have already defined here, 20%. So how do you add that? You just type what? 20, then shift and 5, then operator, which is times, shift and 8, if you're using laptop, then reference the cell. That is what? This discount is calculated on what? This. Then press enter, it will calculate as what? 500, right? Double click to calculate what other discount for you. So the next one is actual cost. What is actual cost? Now you have given this discount, giving 500 from this. The customer now want to know how much exactly is going to pay, right? Which means that what? You remove this 500 from what? You remove this 3,000 for what? To get what? The actual what? Costs. What is costing the customer. So you call this argument minus. Then subtract what? This argument from it and then press enter. Then double click also. And then it will fill it up. Now, what is your VAT, valued added tax? You have already defined it to be what? 7 point. Whatever value you are given, you put it there. Now, equals to 7 point what? 7.5 what? Percent. Then off, which means what? Shift 8, which is what? Times shift 8. So we are giving them the VAT, or we are imposing the VAT based on the what? The cost, because this price is no longer what? Valid. If you refer your VAT to this in business, you are indirectly a 419 because you claim that you are giving them what? Discount. Because you can't tell me that the VAT on this 2,000 is the same value with what? VAT on what? 2,500. So the moment you have your actual cost, that is your current cost. So that is where you impose the VAT on, which means I'm referencing this argument. Press enter. And then now here, deposits. You are running accrual type of business where they can pay what? Instrumental. Now it means that what? You have defined it that what? They have to pay 60% of what? This 2,000. So you type that 60, the shift and what? 5. Then your operator, which is times, shift and 8. Then you reference what? This and then press enter and then autofill. Then the last one, but not the least, is the balance. So your balance based on how you want your balance. If you have another mechanism of collecting your VAT, you can simply calculate your balance by what? Deducting what they have deposited from what? The actual cost. But if you don't have another system to get the VAT, then before you calculate their balance, add the VAT to what? Sorry, add the VAT to what? To the actual cost, and then before removing what? The deposit. So what I'm going to do here, I will just what? Take this first, then plus. So plus, then take this also, right? Then minus what? The deposit the person has paid you. And then you have your value there. Then you. Finally, before I allow us to go, you need to format this as monetary value. This is not money. This is 2500. This is not in Naira. This is not what? In dollar. So how do you format it as what? Monetary value. That does not apply to quantity. Hope you are aware. That one is number. So I'll select the whole of this, starting from rates. Remember the logic. Hold down the control and shift and press this, and then press this to give you what? The horizontal selection and what? Vertical what? Selection. Now, once you have done that, from your home tab here, you will see this dollar sign here. So if I click here now, it will show me what? The globally recognized what? Currency. But sorry, your Nigeria currency is not ranked as the first 5. So if it is dollar you want to use, then there's no need of you come here. Just go to general and format with what? Currency. So that will automatically apply what? Dollar. But the reason why I don't want to go through this, it is what we are programmed here that you can actually what? Apply here. So I want to program my Naira sign. Click here. Then go to more. So from more, then come to, if I don't want decimal places, I will just what? Delete it. So in other words, we are not going to be seeing what? This 00 anymore. Now, this symbol, where you have symbol here, click here, then keep going down to where you see Edo, Hausa, Igbo. One of them will give you a Nigeria sign. So let's keep going. 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 Good. So you can see any of them. You can use this. Now, once you click and apply, then you have your what? Naira sign. Now, if I come back to this general now, what was there before that time was what? Dollar, right?
But it's still showing it because this one have not been formatted from the roots. You have to go to the window to change it. So you can go to the window actually to program anyone you want, any sign you want to represent your currency. So if you want to go to the window now, what you need to do is just to go to what? Control panel. Just go to control panel. Just type control panel. Hope I will see it fast. Let me just run through it in case in an office you are asked to do that. So from control panel, you come to this number word format. From number format, go to additional setting. What do you want to format? Currency, right? Then these are the ones that came with it. Now I can say, okay, my own is equals to and equals to. So I want to use it to represent my Naira. Then I'll click what? Okay. Apply. Okay. Now, if I come back here now, you see that what? If you click here, you will have what you programmed there. So that is where you can control it. Because it is in the window you can control it. But if it is just from here, you cannot apply it here and then what? Access it there. So it's not less for you which one you want to choose. You can choose accounting. For accounting, create space between the what? The Naira sign and the what? The value. That is why I prefer what? Currency. So that the Naira sign will be what? Attached. And that will help me to have what? Enough space in case I'm printing and I want everything to enter what? One sheet. So this is where we stop. The class is recorded. You can take it, the video, and go and sit down with everything I've taught you, replicate it. So your assignment, you update this, your record to this before Friday. Any question? Because we have to go for the next class.